Hey, this is Nick Edwards. As we continue to have discussions with people who are really on the front lines of ministry, maybe it looks a little different. Maybe they're going a different angle, but it's all people who are resourcing the church to help the church be at its very best. Kelly, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me.
Man, Kelly, tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Kelly Love. I live in South Carolina, from Louisiana. My wife's prettier than I am handsome, and she's from South Carolina, so I live in South Carolina.
There you go.
But I'm just blessed to be with an organization called Trail Life USA. Trail Life USA is the preeminent organization in the world using outdoors to really form boys into godly masculine men. So we adventure, character, and leadership, and biblical principles. And we come alongside the churches to work alongside the churches or in the churches. We're not a parachurch ministry, which is a misnomer.
What does that mean?
So parachurch ministry, so it's not a ministry that's kind of developed within the walls of the church. So we're in 1,500 churches across the country. And so every church that we're in, a senior pastor has planted the flag and said, we are a ministry of this church.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, for me, just thinking about, you said creating masculinity and real masculinity. And, there's all this talk today of toxic masculinity and passive men.
Yeah.
And both those are really a detriment to everything around them.
That's right.
And so we have to create good, godly masculinity. And there is something that is so important there for the church, for the body of Christ. And that's who God's created men to be.
Amen.
And so tell me, what do y'all actually do?
Well, I think it's first. I think the world and even in the church, like we hear the word masculinity, and we have an impression of a guy that looks like you, Nick. Big,
old, fat, bald.
No, big and burly, former a police officer in Dallas. Or we think of the beard, and we think of the truck that's jacked up and lifted. And I like to say that masculinity is not what it looks like. It's the values that it holds.
Man, that's a good word right there. Say that again.
Masculinity is not what it looks like. It's the values that it holds, and that we're here to protect women. We're here to provide for a family. We're here to love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul. Those are the values, and there's a bunch of them. Those are the values that make a man, who are living up to what God's called that man to be.
Man, I love that. So the need for boys to become men. Oh. The education system is not set up for it. Most of our churches aren't set up for it. Most men don't know how to teach their boys to be godly men. So when you say, it's a pastor who plants the flag, it says, this is who we are, this is what we're going to become. What does that actually look like?
So we came to SBC this year. We go to SBC every year. We came this year with a very specific message that we wanted to have pastors embrace thinking about men's ministry different. And that is that men's ministry starts at age 5.
That I like.
So for 30 years, I've been watching all my friends and pastors in ministry hit their knees every single day and say, God, send me some men. God, send me some men. God, send us some men. We need some men for this reason and that reason and all the reasons that they've all hit their knees to pray those prayers. But the problem is we've been doing that for 30 years, and the church inherits the men it forms. So how are we doing? And the answer is culture is lacking men, honestly, because the church hasn't been raising men. We haven't been engaging boys in such a way within the 4 walls of the church that helps those boys be raised into godly masculinity. Everything about our churches, in reality, our schools and everything, they're having a huge session right next door, right? And it's come in here, sit down, watch the screen, listen, be still. That's not how men interact. That's not how we were created to interact. Now you take a 10-year-old boy who's wild and tell him to sit down and listen, which is where what we tell them to do everywhere.
Yes.
And the boy isn't built that way.
And then we go, you got ADD or you've got some issue going on. Let's give you some medicine.
That's right.
So you'll calm down. Instead of going, no, that's how God's wired this young boy to be wild.
That's
and
right.
To be adventurous.
Yeah, one of the things that we think at Trail Life is boys are different from girls. So we'll have a lot of people who step up to our booth and says, hey, well, what about the girls? And there is a kind of a sister program We're not the same association, but a lot of times where you'll find a Trail Life, you'll find an American Heritage Girls as well. But we believe boys and girls are different. Now, I know we're in Florida, so I should be good saying that.
You're good. You're good with me.
Last time I was in California, it didn't go over so well. But boys are different than girls, and we believe there ought to be a space and programming that really calls those boys up instead of always calling them out.
Yeah.
We call men and we call boys out all the time. But what do we ever call them up to? And so Trail Life creates this dynamic where with older men, dads, grandfathers, dad likes, who are calling those men into godly masculinity.
Love it. So what do you tell the dad right now who's struggling going, man, I don't know how to, I didn't even have a dad in my home. I grew up without a dad. I grew up with an abusive dad. I'm just trying to be better than my dad, and my dad really sucked. So how can I even be better?
I was just in a conversation with one of our staff members, and it hit me a light bulb. We ought to be talking about this dynamic more than what we're talking about it. One of the things I love about Trail Life, now I'm not the outdoorsman. I know the look and how rugged and handsome I am.
Of course, yes.
I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that's on the trail. I'll light a fire in my backyard, that kind of guy. So I'm on my first, I've been with Trail Life for two and a half years. I'm on my first trail. And one of the things that, like, I'm that guy that's holding his phone up, scrolling through Amazon. Give me that big tent. Give me that thing. Give me that thing. Buying all the good, cool stuff to go take out on the trail. Like, I'm going to be the envy of all the other dads who are there. And I'm sitting there at the first camp out that we went with our boys, and I'm struggling to put up this massive tent up. And the dads, I could see it on their face, laughing at me a little bit, which they should do. But they also just said, hey, we got you. Come on, we'll help you put your tent up. Trail Life is one of the biggest assists for the dad out there who I talked to a lady, I was in Illinois, just outside of Chicago, giving a talk, and she came up crying. She said, my husband loves sports, but he knows nothing about the outdoors. My son hates sports and loves the outdoors. And so there's a real disconnect with that dad. And I think a lot of dads feel like, I want to be my son's hero. And if I can't, we just tend to back away a little bit. Trail Life comes in and says, man, you don't know have to know how to do all this. We got guys who know how to do it. You just have to show. You don't have to know, you just have to show. And as long as you show, and that boy sees you there, y'all are learning those skills together, man. It's a really cool thing. We help dads be better dads, actually.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard thing. Dads want to be better. They just don't always know how to.
That's right.
And, thinking about that and just thinking of how boys and men learn different and interact different, realize that a lot of times business is done on the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can have a 30-second conversation and it's interrupted. We can have a 30-second conversation and it's interrupted. But over 12, 13, 14 holes, we're actually building something.
That's right.
Take a guy, set him out by a fire. He relaxes a little bit.
That's right.
And the conversation changes. Right?
So one of the things that's not on the surface with Trail Life that a lot of people just don't realize, I need some water, hold on, that don't realize, got the hiccups, I'm sorry.
You're good.
That don't realize it right out of the gate when they look at Trail Life. There's two things. The first is that we're secretly the best men's discipleship program going today because we have exactly what you described. Guys are relaxed. And somewhere in the last 30 years in the American church, we have thought that men's ministry looks like a sewing circle. Let's put a bunch of guys in a circle, okay, and they're going to share their feelings with each other and their deepest, darkest sins and all the things in their life. Guys aren't going to do that. There's not a guy I know that actually wants to do that. And so we do ministry the way Jesus did, walking shoulder to shoulder around a campfire at night, with a guy who's brand new in his faith or has no faith at all, sitting with a dude who's been in his faith for 30 years, loves his wife and loves his church and is on mission with God. And now they're having real conversations because that dude's saying, man, my wife is driving me crazy. And the guy older in his faith, so whatever he's going to say to him, but he may say something like, man, you're going this direction and she's going that direction. Until y'all both are pointing at Jesus, dude, your marriage doesn't have a hope.
So good. Yeah, absolutely.
Real ministry, real life, the way guys can accept it. So this happens naturally within the Trail Life environment. That's not going to happen at the sewing circle. It's not going to happen at the pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
And
We think if we just feed men, we'll get them. But men can eat. They don't need you to feed them,
That's
right? They need you to actually give them something that's valuable.
That's right.
That really helps them to move forward as men. And sometimes they don't know what that is. But just going, hey, we're going to have pizza tonight. Come hang out at the church. Doesn't do
not
it.
interested.
Yeah.
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 The World Series is on. The NBA playoffs is on. Whatever.
Yeah. And so I have a ministry for men that it's called Impact Manhood, and it's called Impact. It's because we don't need to play patty cake.
Right.
And impact means to come into forcible contact with. We've got to come into forcible contact with the reality of who we are as men, the reality of who God's called us to be, and impact each other for God's kingdom.
That's right.
And so what you're talking about there is having real impact that's beyond surface level, that becomes generational.
That's right. Well, the generations are built into it, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to that, what we've done in the church is not whatever we've done. So whatever they are, we're not turning out godly masculine men who are available for the next generation. And so maybe there's a different way to think that instead of thinking men's ministry starts at 18 or 25 or 30, or once a guy's married and has a family, whatever your men's ministry looks like, maybe we should start thinking men's ministry starts at age 5. That 7 and 8 year old is going to be the ones who are the next generation. If we'd have done that 30 years ago, we wouldn't be having this vacuum of lack of masculinity within the church.
Yeah, thinking about that, I was wrong about this, leading men's ministry for a long time.
No, I know.
No, like convicting now, and I had to rethink some things. I would be speaking at a men's event or doing some men's training or having an event that I'm really trying to go, men, God's called us to more. And I cannot tell you how many men over 55 came up to me and said, why did no one tell me this at 20?
Oh, man. Yeah.
And I thought, okay, we've got to start at 20. But what you're saying is actually we got to start at 5.
Yeah.
And man, that is transformational.
Well, we think it is. And one of the things that I think is really important that we've lost somewhere along the way, just in Western culture, not the church, but Western culture. There was a time in a boy's life, they would send him out in the woods. He'd come back with a stag on his shoulders and a bone in his ear, a bone in his nose, and whatever that tribalism was, it doesn't matter. That boy then knew that from that day forward, he was considered a man. And I had 2 guys last weekend in Illinois came up to me after I gave a talk, just boohooing and crying. And I had given this illustration, like, does anybody feel like me? Like, I graduated high school. Am I a man? Am I a man now? Now, am I a man? I get to have my first baby. I'm still asking the question, am I a man now? Or I bought my first car, or I graduated college. I'm still asking that question. And I think there's a plethora of Christian men in our culture who haven't had that rite of passage. And one of the things built into Trail Life is they learn these skills, hard and soft skills of biblical masculinity. And so when they hit the pinnacle of that, they now feel like a man. They know what their role is. They know the values of masculinity that I'm supposed to uphold, not just what I'm supposed to look like.
Man, that is so good. How do people find out more information? How do they connect with you?
TrailLifeUSA.com. They can find a troop, or a pastor could start a troop. So if there's not a Trail Life around, or you just want to grab a hold of thinking about men's ministry starting at age 5, then you hit start a troop. So TrailLifeUSA.com, and then start a troop or either find a troop.
Man, that is absolutely amazing. Grateful for men like you who are standing in that gap, helping pastors that don't know how to do it, not because they don't want to, but they don't know the right solution. And to be able to step in that gap and help them is incredible.
Dude, I can't thank you guys enough. I know we've had some conversations over the last couple of weeks with you guys. And Trail Life's really excited to work with
gonna be good.
with Build. So
Yeah,
we're
it's going to be really
excited.
good. Love men like you who are standing in that gap, helping men to become men, and then really helping the next generation.
Yeah,
Love
awesome.
it. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for being a part
Thanks,
of this.
Nick.